By the end of the Gospel of John, by John chapter 21, he had already seen Jesus. He had seen the Christ. He had heard the words a couple times now, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so am I sending you." And yet, where do we in John 21, where do we find Peter? He doesn't quite know what to do, so he says, "Let's go fishing." And some of you are like, "That sounds good," right? Peter was going back to what he knew. Why is Peter's story so famous? One of the things about Peter is he was, of course, a very vocal, very strong leader among the disciples, and he claimed allegiance to Jesus, even to the point of death. Do you remember that? In John 13, Peter says, "I will go with you to the death." Verse 37, when Jesus says, you guys can't follow me, he was talking about his own death on the cross. And Peter replies and says, "Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you." And then Jesus corrects him. Jesus says, "Peter, will you really lay down your life for me? Very truly, I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Peter was maybe the most brave of the disciples. He followed Jesus the furthest. He went into the courtyard. He was closest to the mob than any of the others. All the disciples scattered. Peter was close enough to hear. And yet, when he was asked, "Aren't you one of his disciples?" he denied him once, twice, a 3rd time, and then that crow of the rooster. And Matthew, Mark, and Luke all tell us that Peter, after when he heard it, he was reminded of the words of Jesus, and he went out, and the phrase is, he wept bitterly. He wept. His boastful words, right? The boastful words of Peter, "I will go to the death with you," gave way to the very real, very pervasive inadequacies of Peter, this man. And now Jesus was alive. I mean, the shame and remorse was great, to weep bitterly, but to hear of the resurrection and to see the risen Christ, and it's like, I did that. I denied I even knew him. You're probably like me, it's like when we say words, when you say words, we've taught our kids this too, when you say the words, you can't take the words back, right? When you actually verbalize the negative thought, when you actually say the harmful thing, harm is done. You can't take the words back. And Peter, as much as he would have wanted to take the words back, he couldn't take the words back, and that rooster did crow, and shame and remorse was what he was living with. In John chapter 21, what we'll see is the restoration of that man, where the shame and remorse of his life gives way. The light of Jesus shines into his life, and in a powerful way, shame and remorse give way to love and faithfulness. And Peter would go on to serve the Lord. This is because of Christ. This is the afterglow of his resurrection. And his restoration is possible because of Jesus. Your restoration is possible because of Christ. Your shame and your remorse can give way because Jesus is alive today. And you can become a person of love and faithfulness to God Almighty. My friends, because of Jesus, our failures are not final.